Welcome to Stanford. Thank you all very much for coming. My name is Michael Keller. I'm the university librarian, and you're sitting here in the Bender Room to hear yet another terrific speech by a senior officer of the Republic of Estonia, the Prime Minister, Taavi Roivas. We're very happy to welcome him, but before we go any further, I want all of you to set your cell phones to stun. Okay, no phones going off during this talk, please. The Prime Minister will be introduced by Michael McFaul, one of the great Stanford professors, former ambassador of the United States to Russia. And in January, he starts an additional service to Stanford as director of the Freeman Spogli Institute. Michael, over to you, please.
Thank you. I didn't do anything. There's no reason to go applaud. It's a great honor to be here again. The last time we were all together was with your president. I think it is a fantastic achievement for Stanford University that we are nurturing a multi-dimensional relationship with Estonia at the highest levels and on many different levels. It's appropriate in many ways because Estonia, in the world that I teach about, democracy, development, and rule of law, a course I just finished teaching last week, is a paradigmatic example of how to do it correctly. And because of the young leadership, including the Prime Minister, is celebrated in my class as the example of how to do all those things together. Second, Estonia is also a leader in everything related to technology. My colleague, Edward Lucas, my former college classmate, by the way, at Oxford, just became the first e-citizen of Estonia. And I think you'll hear a little bit about that today when the Prime Minister speaks, about what they have done to really revolutionize the ideas between technology, business, and governance. And the Prime Minister has been a part of that revolution, and a revolution in the positive sense, by the way, in Estonia over the last several years. Now, he is the youngest Prime Minister in Europe. Is that still true? In the EU. In the EU, yes, that's correct. But if you look at his biography, you'll see that he actually has many more years of experience in government than a lot of leaders, including our own leader, by the way, Mr. Prime Minister. I think I added up the years. You have more experience in executive governance than Barack Obama. So your topic today could not be more perfect here at Stanford University, and it's a great honor to welcome you, Mr. Prime Minister, to Stanford University.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for those kind words of introduction. It's really an honor and pleasure to be here, and well, there's no place like Stanford to discuss those important issues we are going to discuss right now. I will briefly tell you some things about Estonia. Many of you are good friends of Estonia and know much of Estonia already, but I still want to tell a few things before we go to the real topic. Some might say that Estonia is a dangerous place, as if you look it up in Wikipedia, you see that we do have the biggest number of meteorite craters according to territory. But the last one fell down about 10,000 years ago. So the only danger we have now in Estonia is dangerous ideas. We have the ambition and belief that we can change the world in a very positive way, and this is something to do with digital. As you correctly mentioned, we have the ambition to be a pioneer in the digital world and to do things differently and to give real impact to the rest of the world. Well, there probably isn't anyone in this room who doesn't know Skype, the biggest and most successful Estonian startup. But there are also others that have made it to the world, who have reinvented their sector, I would say. Kazaa but also transfer-wise, which has revolutionized banking, or will do it even more, because paying for banks to take your currency from another country to another currency shouldn't be as difficult and expensive as it is right now. I do believe that there is something that is done right in the country, otherwise we wouldn't have such a big number of successful not only startups anymore, but successful ICT companies. I will come back to that slightly later on. But having said that, Estonia is also a beautiful place to live in. 50% of our territory is covered by forests, lakes, rivers, beautiful nature. So one could even say that the biggest polluters we have are the wireless networks. Wireless is something that is everywhere in Estonia, and we consider it a human right to have. Now, you do know where Estonia is, don't you? This is a tiny country in a very Nordic part of Europe. Our northern neighbor is Finland, southern neighbor is Latvia. In the west, you see Sweden, and in the east, you see Russia. But Estonia is not only an integral part of Europe. We have always been Europeans. Estonia is also a country that has ambition and willingness to be one of the most integrated countries in Europe, being part of OECD, which is sometimes described as the club of, I wouldn't say rich, but I would say successful countries. Also, our ambition is not to be just a member of OECD, but to compare ourselves to the very best OECD countries. And in this respect, for example, if you look at the tax system review that was recently done, it ranked Estonia #1 in terms of business friendliness amongst all OECD countries. We are a member of NATO for 10 years already, since 2004. And we, again, not only are members of NATO, but we look into our core competencies where we can contribute to NATO and make NATO stronger. Of course, Estonia is not a huge military power. I'm not probably telling you a big secret while revealing this secret. But nevertheless, we are very good in some sectors, and cyber is one of them. Estonia was the very first country that experienced a cyber attack back in 2008. It started 2007, and we defended ourselves well. We learned a lot from that. And after that, we have enjoyed the presence of NATO Center of Excellence in cybersecurity. So this NATO focus on cybersecurity is based in the capital of Estonia, in Tallinn. And of course, we are proud members of EU for the last 10 years as well. I think Estonia has gained a lot from being a member of EU, because we are the ones who believe in free trade. I actually think that the only sustainable source for growth in the economy can come from free trade, especially if your own market size is 1.3 million. You can't do everything with this 1.3 million. You have to rely on trade and do your best in order to make Europe as a free market. And again, coming back slightly to digital, the ICT agency of EU, not a surprise, again, is in Tallinn, in the capital of Estonia. So, that said, we have also integrated to the common currency, the euro, since 2011, and we are the, I would say, most disciplined member of Euro. You must know that many of the Euro countries enjoy a huge foreign debt and enjoy the possibilities to pay back a lot of debt every single year. We don't enjoy that, because we think that it's much more logical if we can use all the pile. You can imagine a budget as a pie, and we are the only country that doesn't have this slice of pie saying paying back old debt. And this is mainly because we don't have much foreign debt. We have been believing in sound fiscal policies. We believe that sound fiscal policy is something that keeps your growth potential very high and keeps us, as politicians who don't want to give a slice of pie away, keeps us in better condition in terms of taking care of our public money. So having said that, 10% is the number of 10% of GDP is the number of sovereign debt Estonia has, and this is by far the lowest in European Union. Now, coming to the European Union and European relations, you could tell that from US perspective, there have been lately many good news. You know, the European economy has survived from the crisis, even if the news weren't so good a couple of years ago. You can say that even if the economic growth is only between 1 and 2%, it's still positive trend, and there is growth. Another positive trend is having lower unemployment. Year by year, unemployment decreasing, so the arrow showing downwards actually is a positive trend. So probably clear to everyone. Now, there is still a lot to do in order to really make Europe, in terms of economy and in terms of security, a better place to live. And Estonia, as an active member in this society, wants to play an active role. We believe that having 500 million people living together, having 500 million people enjoying freedoms together, freedom of movement, freedom of trade, freedoms of all kinds, is a huge potential. If you come from a country that has a population from 1.3 million, having this kind of big common market is a big thing. Of course, Estonians are always critical. Even if we are successful, we think that there is a lot to achieve. And Europe, I must say, is not a perfect free market. This 500 million is a big market freely only in theory. So we still have a lot to do, and I'm glad that the Commission that has recently been elected to chair EU has the willingness to do that and to have EU a common market. Now, going even further, I would say that the ambition should be to join EU and US to a common free market. I'm a strong believer in trade, as I said before, so I believe that things like TTIP, the free trade agreement between US and Europe, could make both of those very, very big and prosperous markets even more successful and even more prosperous. So as I said, US is an extremely important ally for Estonia, has always been. I reminded President Obama during his visit to Tallinn a couple of months ago that US has never recognized the occupation that started in the 1940s, the Soviet occupation. And this, believe me, has been a very important and emotional thing for Estonians. We have known that we can always trust US, and also today, US is the biggest and most important, not only political ally, but also security ally. US, there is no security in Europe without the transatlantic cooperation. This is, I think, self-evident for everyone. Even especially talking about the current security environment in Europe, without US, Europe cannot feel secure enough, and thus I believe that the importance of US for us goes without saying. It was only 20 years ago when the Russian troops left Estonia, and it's only 10 years that Estonia has been a member of NATO. Sometimes it feels like it has been so forever, but 24 years ago, Estonia was a country that was occupied by Soviet Union 24 years ago. Is there anyone here who's 24? You're? 25. Okay. So look at her, and you see that she's very, very young. I see it from here. And you do understand that Estonia, as an independent country that has regained its independence, is a very, very young country, and we should be proud of that we have managed to achieve several positive things during that. So coming back to security, it is a big thing for us that US is our strong ally, and that US president told in Tallinn in his speech that protecting Tallinn is as important for NATO as protecting Paris, London, Berlin, any other European capital. This is something that Estonians value very much, and we value the military and security cooperation very, very much. Coming to security cooperation and the security situation, I think it's self-evident that there is not too much security in Europe today. We still see a country, a big country next to Europe, partly part of Europe, that thinks that changing borders by force could be done. We have seen aggression in Georgia, 2008. We have seen and are seeing aggression in Ukraine. We are seeing different types of political activities that are not necessarily called war in any way, but that are influencing politics, using, for example, gas as a natural resource, as a weapon, or weapon could be a strong word, but it is a weapon if you tell a sovereign country next to you that you can only use the natural gas if you follow the terms I dictate to you. This is why, of course, Estonians and Americans together believe in having energy trade also between the two continents. I'm a strong believer in the natural resources of US coming to Europe as well. I know that there has been a lot of debate in US about that, but I have discussed that with both President Obama and many top officials from the Senate, also congressmen, and I see that the winds are changing a bit in this respect as well. I believe that geopolitically it could be a game changer to have trade in terms of energy trade between US and EU or Europe as a whole. So looking at this big neighboring country, we see that they are not following the rule of law. We see that they have an ambition to attack their neighbors sometimes, and this is something that we can't take seriously enough. So I do believe that this is something that has to be discussed, and I won't go to greater details describing what the situation in Ukraine is and what the solutions should be, but let's keep in mind that why are we there as we are in Ukraine, and what should we do could be the topics that we will discuss. If you have questions, I definitely would like to go more detailed into that. But if you are wondering what's going on in Ukraine and why Russia is doing what it is doing and how it is doing, there actually is a user manual to this conflict, and this is called Gerasimov's Doctrine. So I encourage you to read that, and you will find out how this conflict is handled and why is it in this situation as it is. There are many professionals, many analytics, many policymakers who are trying to find the good word, what's going on in Ukraine, what's the current security status. Some of them say that it is a new Cold War. Some of them say that it is post-Cold War. I would call it a fake peace. You know, in official terms, it's peacetime. But if you look into more detail, you see clear aggression, and you see that the types of aggressions that are in presence are not the typical ones that we are used to. It's not like one military coming from left and other from right, as you see in old war movies. It's much more complicated. There's much more, many more different ways to generate this kind of fake peace. So having said that, of course, in Ukraine, which unfortunately didn't choose its European and NATO way 23 years ago when we started from the same position. Estonia and Ukraine started from very similar position 23 years ago. Estonia, from the very beginning, started reforming society, starting reforming also the economy, and took the clear path towards Europe and NATO membership. We are very proud that we took this path, because now we can feel 100 times more secure as a full member of NATO, as a member of EU. This has generated not only security but also economic prosperity and so on. But in Ukraine, even though if they didn't take this decision 23 years ago, this doesn't mean that they don't have the sovereign right to do it now. I believe they do. And if the people of Ukraine have voted to be part of Europe right now, of course they have to meet the criteria in order to be members of the EU. This takes a lot of time. This takes a lot of reforming. This takes, as President Poroshenko and Prime Minister Yatsenyuk very well understand, this takes a lot of effort. But if the people of Ukraine and the politicians of Ukraine are willing to do that, no one else, no neighboring country, no one else should tell them as a sovereign country that they cannot go this way. So this means that we need to be very frank. We need to show that US, EU, the international community as a whole doesn't tolerate this type of action. And we have to say also that this is where it ends. We don't allow Russia to think that it can change borders by force. This is not tolerable at all, and especially when we talk about the borders of NATO. NATO is something that is based on trust. And each and every village, each and every country also, but each and every town, village, each square mile of NATO should be protected equally. I mean, if there is one square mile that is attacked in any corner of NATO, and NATO doesn't respond, that's the end of NATO. And this is something no one in NATO wants. So this means that NATO, in its collective defense, has to be rock solid, and it is. I have been participating in the NATO summit in the beginning of September this year in Wales. We discussed those issues. We discussed it in a bigger forum. We discussed it so that only the presidents and prime ministers of the member states were around the table, and no one else. Okay, Secretary General of NATO as well, but no one else. And we discussed it very openly. And I see no hesitation amongst any NATO members that we take collective defense extremely seriously, and we have to protect ourselves from all kinds of aggression. This means that the member states of NATO, such as Estonia, you see some Estonian military using actually American weapons. This is a Javelin, third-generation Javelin system that we just purchased from US, so it's no coincidence that I'm showing you this picture. This is part of our military cooperation. But this is showing that Estonians as any other members of NATO, have to contribute, first of all, themselves to defense. We are here together with our business delegation, more than 40 members of it, almost 50 business delegation members. And in addition to startups and ICT companies who are very, very good in what they do, we have here also many very serious players in defense industry. And this is something we want to cooperate with the US in the future even more. But having said that, each and every member state of NATO has to contribute to its own defense. This is the Article 3 in this North Atlantic Treaty, that you have to protect yourself, you have to be strong, this is deterrence, this is how it works. Estonia has done that. As I told you before, we are very clear in terms of fiscal policy. We don't allow us any undisciplined actions. We are very disciplined. The same applies to building our military. We have contributed for many years already, or not many, but several years already, 2% of GDP to defense, and we are continuing to do so. We think that this is self-evident, that if a NATO country has committed to something, you go forward and you do that. Having said that, Estonians also participate in the collective missions that NATO might have or has had. So altogether, the defense of any NATO country, including Estonia, is in two pillars. One is your own protection that you are responsible for yourself. Putting enough public money to defense, securing your country, this is your responsibility. If you are not doing your own job, you can't count on others as well. But having said that, the second pillar for us is at least as important, and this is the collective defense of NATO. We know that a small sovereign country of 1.3 million can be very, very strong, but can't be a huge military power, as I said. But luckily, Estonia is a very big military power, and this is simply because we are part of NATO. So anyone who wants to pick a fight with Estonia does understand that this is picking a fight with NATO, and this is something that no one is stupid enough to even dare. In order to give all potential aggressors the same message that we believe in ourselves, in NATO, we have to show visible deterrence. And this means that there has to be presence of military in all NATO areas. I would say that smaller unit, let's say a company in Estonia, has a stronger effect of deterrence than a brigade in Germany. And in presence, I mean also US presence. Actually, in Estonia, there are right now Germans participating in air policing, US soldiers, a company of US soldiers with their Bradleys and Strikers exercising together with Estonians. Very big thing for us in terms of practical things. We can exercise together with the American soldiers who actually, the guys who are there right now come from Texas, and for them, seeing the Estonian winter, they are experiencing new things. I have met them for several times, and I have always asked them, do we give you good food? Do we let you train as much as you want? They are very much satisfied. But they also can exercise in Estonia in conditions that they have never seen. And this is swamps, this is snow, and Bradleys in snow. This is, for guys who come from Texas, this is something that's rather interesting. So they are enjoying themselves and doing a good job practicing together with the Estonian military. So, having said that, I think the new posture of NATO, having more planes in the sky, more boots on the ground, and more ships in the sea in all NATO areas, including the eastern part of Europe, that is the border of NATO is definitely needed. You know, most countries have border guards. Do you? You do have border guards as well here in the US. Where do you have them? Usually at the border, yes. That makes lots of sense. You don't have them. You don't have them in the middle of the country too often. So the idea of having something that protects you from something on the border makes a lot of sense. And this is why Estonians do believe that having the NATO troops and physical presence, not only presence in terms of US companies, but also pre-positioning of equipment, also defense plans, so on. Having this on border makes quite much sense. So, as I told you, Estonia is one of the countries contributing to defense itself, and we contribute 2% of GDP, and this commitment is as rock solid from our side as the collective defense is from NATO side, or together in all of NATO. Having said that, in addition to traditional threats, there is also a big topic, non-traditional threats. You could call them cyber war, you could call them hybrid war, different things. But in cyber, we have managed to raise enough knowledge in Estonia that, as I told you already, we are helping all of NATO to cope with those new threats, and it's as important to take the new threats seriously as it is to contribute to collective defense. Estonia is a digital society. Today, before we came here, we visited Microsoft, and they told us that it's self-evident that Estonia is a digital society and probably the most digital society in the world. So it's not a coincidence that sometimes Estonia is called Estonia. I switch from security issues now to more ICT issues and thinking how technology could make us more successful society, and I will come back to saying how this makes our country also, and our society, perhaps even bigger than country, much more secure place to live as well. Just a few examples. In Estonia, if you want to start a company, just an operating company, it takes you how much time? Who can guess? Estonians, please don't answer. You do not. Please.
It took us about 2 hours.
2 hours?
Including going to the bank.
Okay, yeah, well, you went to the bank. You don't actually have to do that. But okay, if you are really slow, you can. If you're really slow, it takes you 2 hours. But I would say that 20 minutes would be this accurate average that could be counted as normal in Estonia. Anything beyond that is somewhat unacceptable for us. You know, especially pleased to tell it in the United States. How much time does it take us to declare taxes? Yesterday I met a friend who's Estonian and who has lived many years already in Palo Alto. He works for, I don't see him if he's here today. I have several friends, of course, who live in Palo Alto or nearby, but this particular friend I don't see right now. But he told me that in order to declare his taxes, he had to hire a lawyer, which is something Estonians don't understand. Why on earth do you need lawyers to declare taxes? And he said that his pile of applications was like really huge. Probably this is not something that you are surprised to hear. I was surprised to hear, but you probably aren't. In Estonia, if you are really slow again, it takes you maximum 5 minutes. And this is partly because of the technological solutions, but partly, of course, also because we are enjoying rather business-friendly tax system, and we don't make it too complicated. So we want to keep things easy and logical. Last spring, Estonia voted in EU elections. All European countries did. What was the interesting thing in Estonia was that the votes came from all of those countries, and not by letter, as it is the conditional way, or conventional way, sorry, but they came electronically. So anyone, any Estonian in any part of the world where there is a computer and internet, you can vote. And this is done by using your digital identity and digital signature. I will tell you briefly about in a few moments. 25% of all votes were casted electronically during the last elections. And also, if you want to look up your health data, you can do it simply by logging on any computer. And at what any doctor in any hospital in Estonia has written about you, whatever information they have collected about you, you can look up yourself in your this kind of medical record. And if you need a prescription in Estonia, no one, I literally mean no one, uses this kind of paper prescriptions. It is put to the system by a doctor, and you simply have to show your ID in any pharmacy, and you get the prescription drugs sold to you there. So these are simply a couple of things that we have done, that we have somewhat pioneered, but being an Estonian, I wouldn't be an Estonian if I wouldn't be critical myself. I think this is simply top of the iceberg. There are so many things we can do because, now I will tell you a secret, because we have digital identity and digital signing that is equal by law for each and every Estonian citizen and each and every person that lives in Estonia. If you have each and every Estonian using a digital ID card, this means that you can securely log in to anything. Anything can be built on that. And if you have a signature that is your ID card put to your smart card reader combined with your PIN, and this is legally binding, and this is equal to your conventional handwritten signature, you can do anything with that. We have used that for more than 10 years now, and a lot of things have been built on that. But we do believe that there are still many things that we can do. And the other secret is that in order to make it technologically happen, you need a rather, I would say, simple thing that is called X-Road. It looks like that. It actually is simple because there is a middle layer that all solutions, any service is connected to. And the identification doesn't happen in each and every separate system, but they communicate with the middle layer. So this is how it works, and this is why Estonia has managed to be a digital society. And on top of that, of course, as I told you before, free internet is a human right in Estonia, and if you don't get to free internet in Estonia, you get some nervousness. This is like, come on, how come I'm offline? This is not happening to me. But this is not simply because we are, tech savvy and we like to use computers more than others do. We are not all tech savvy. Yes, those companies with me here today, they are the tech savvy guys. I'm somewhat tech savvy myself. I have been working to a computer company 12 years ago myself. But most of us, we are simply pragmatic people who want to do things in a better way. And we have even counted how much we save every year by using all kinds of digital solutions. And this is 2% of GDP. 2% of GDP, if you remind me what I told you before, is the same amount of money that we spend on defense each and every year. So you could even say that using ICT solutions pays for our defense. So that was the part where I said that digital society is actually protecting your country. But this is not the only way, of course, and using digital opportunities is saving us not only country, but all of us saving time and money. And on top of that, if you look at services like e-police, you can simply provide better quality public services as well. If police doesn't have to rely on piles of paper and they can look in their iPads, your record, your car's record, they can use it very, very easily, then they can simply make our streets safer. And this is no-brainer, and for us it's clear that if we don't have oil like Norway has, or if we don't have huge popular bands as Sweden has, we have to rely on things like zeros and ones in the right order, and this could make our society, a very small society, more prosperous. Now, if you have this in place, and if you think about it, you can have those zeros and ones leading to more ICT competence, and this will generate you more companies that are open, that are having this kind of state of mind, I would say even, that is entrepreneurial and looking constantly for new ideas. I really enjoy being with startup companies. This is because they are never telling you that this cannot be done. They are constantly looking for solutions. They are constantly looking how to do things even better. And I think this is something every government should be doing as well. Estonia, sometimes as a government, wants to have this kind of startup approach, because we want to develop all the time and not just stick with what we have been used to. As I told you, there are already many successful startups. Some of them are not anymore startups. Skype is something all of you know. It has been acquired by Microsoft already some time ago for $8.5 billion. But this was the company that was founded in Estonia. And why I'm talking about it already second time is that Skype had a big role in being this kind of first success story. That if you can start a company with 5 people, actually even 4, I would say, 4, let's say 4 to 5. Sten knows, he was the head of Skype at one point. But if you can start a company with a couple of people and become an 8.5 billion corporation that changes the world in some aspects, then you believe that if you can do it in Estonia, then you can believe that this can be done. And there are so many ex-Skype workers also here, ex-Skype employees who have been very successful in creating new success stories. One of them is TransferWise, a company that is offering peer-to-peer, or let's put it this way, TransferWise is offering money transactions so much more convenient way than banks and so much cheaper than banks that they will change the world in finance. I will promise you that. So remember this name if you don't know it already. CrabCat is a company that has recently made a successful exit. They are doing, I would say, social media for engineers. This is the best way to describe it. And ShareMind is a secure multi-computing platform. I think the head of Cybernetica is with us today as well. So this is a thing that is generated by an Estonian company called Cybernetica. But these are only a couple of examples. Altogether, this is called Estonian Mafia. And don't be afraid, this is not a criminal, nothing to do with criminal activities. This is simply joining those hard-working startup guys in all of those companies who believe that they can change the world. And thus, I do wish them all the success, and this is why actually we are here in Silicon Valley. Now, as I told you, we want to change the world, but we have only 1.3 million people, which is about the size of San Jose, and even if we would introduce this kind of policy that all families need to have at least 5 children, it takes us still a lot of time to become a superpower in the world. So we have to be clever. And in order to become bigger, in order to keep punching above our weight, we have a plan. And this plan, this ambition is to have 10 million Estonians. This is not anything to do, this doesn't have anything to do with ethnicity. This is not ethnical Estonians or even, not even people living in Estonia. This is something that is called e-residency. And this is necessary to offer all of you, whoever of you wants to use all those digital things that Estonians are enjoying in their everyday life. We are taking those things already for granted. If any of you wants to use those things, you simply go to Estonian embassy. We have started the so-called beta version of this e-residency already a week ago. We are giving the first e-residency cards right here in the US. This evening I will be giving a card to Steve Jurvetson, for example, venture capitalist, also Mr. Draper, Tim Draper, and so on. So I do believe that once we have this in place and allow you all use those services, this gives us tremendous potential to show you how things are really done and you to enjoy all those same things that we are taking self-granted. 60%, by the way, of e-residents or future e-residents who have already applied. There are already thousands of people during last week who have applied. 60% of all of them want to do it because they want to do business. They want to start a company in Estonia, partly because Estonia is having a very favorable business climate, but partly also because they see that they are somewhat bored in using this kind of old school things in order to run their companies, so they want to use technology and do things more easily. This is a government startup, so in some way we are now, as a government, becoming a part of Estonian mafia, and we want to be a part of Estonian mafia in terms of the state of mind of being innovative, being constantly looking for new solutions. So follow that, and I do believe that this will come a success story in the near future, but we also are prepared to the case when it doesn't take off to 10 million instantly, and we are only like 5 million nation in a couple of years. This we can live with, of course, as well. Now, concluding my long monologue today, I want to say that Estonia is, in many ways, is an example of the good old American dream. We do believe that working hard, innovating, doing things sometimes differently, can bring us success. During the 23 years Estonia has been an independent country, we have enjoyed a tremendous success. It's very hard to find any country in the whole world who has been growing more in terms of economic growth during the 23 years or achieving more. Perhaps you find some countries that have been doing something better, but in overall aspect, we can be proud of what we have achieved. That said, going for the Estonian dream is something that will never end, and we have to continue and constantly look for even better ways of running the country and keeping our punch above our weight. So this is our mutual dream. Thank you. Do we have time? Okay.
We have like 10 minutes for questions.
Okay.
Do you want to do the questions yourself? Or do you want me to
please.
So thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. We have a few minutes for questions, and I'll entertain them. Here, If you could just introduce yourself to our guest.
Yes, my name is Einar Clausen.
And wait for the microphone.
My name is Einar Clausen. I'm a Norwegian living here in Silicon Valley. I think it's fantastic what you guys have done in terms of using the internet. But given what we've seen recently, including what might have been claimed to be a North Korean attack on Sony in cyberspace and all the hacking that is happening, does this make you nervous about a country that's so focused on the use of the internet?
Well, it's always good to be prepared. And after the very first large-scale cyber attack against the sovereign country that happened in 2007 in Estonia, we have been constantly making our protection stronger. It's self-evident that if you have so many digital services, if you have so many things that rely on computers working, you have to consider security as your utmost goal. And this is a reason why now we are already thinking of next levels of protection. Again, something that has never been tried anywhere in the world. And this is the concept of data embassies. This is meaning that we plan getting our most valuable services to the cloud so that no one can physically attack them. And you can run those registers, also websites that have symbolic value, that don't have any practical value, but just to keep them protected at the highest possible level. This is something we have been discussing with the biggest corporations that provide this kind of solutions. This is something that our own companies can do well, and I totally agree with you that once you have a lot of digital life, protecting your data, making it secure is something that you have to constantly keep in mind, and not only keep in mind, but constantly develop to be one step ahead of potential threats.
Can you please compare Estonia to Singapore? As an Asian, Singapore is also a small country with very small population like Estonia. Can you please tell me what is your advantage over a small country like Singapore, or what are the innovations that make you a better country than an Asian country like Singapore?
You should take my course. We discussed that in my course. You should take my course online next year.
I will. Of course, Estonia is the best country in the world, but I will never tell anyone that my country is better than yours. You would never get this kind of attitude from me. I highly respect Singapore and for many achievements Singapore has managed to do, especially in terms of business climate. There is a lot that we can learn from Singapore, and there is a lot that Singapore can learn from us. I have good friends who have either lived in Singapore or who have worked there also, or who are from Singapore origin and are investors in Estonia. So I do know that Singapore is a success story as well, and a very, very positive example. Now, what is the unique thing about Estonia that we don't want to keep for ourselves, but we want others to use as well, is the digital identity. This is a game changer in terms of offering services. If I go to big US hospitals, I visited recently New York Presbyterian, for example. They have tremendous e-health solutions inside their hospital. Their hospital is a huge one in Manhattan. You know, they're a wonderful hospital, very good services, very big company. And they can do lots of things. But what is lacking is if you go to another hospital, a few blocks down, in Manhattan still, and they cannot access any of that data that is in Presbyterian, even though this data is concerning you as the patient, not so much the hospital. It's your health, not the hospital's. And what is unique about Estonia is having this digital identity that is recognized legally gives you potential to build this kind of solutions that all can use throughout the country. And our ambition is not to keep it for Estonia. We don't want to have it our own thing only. We want to use it all over EU, in the United States, everywhere, so we can save time and money in using digital world. So we don't want to keep it ourselves.
Question in the back.
Two questions. To grow to 10 million, will we allow citizens from Russia and China to become e-residents of Estonia in order to achieve that 10 million?
Well, there isn't a geographical limit to that, and you have to bear in mind that the main thing is that those people are securely identified who they are, and if this is in place, you don't have to set any limits to any citizenship. It doesn't grant you officially physical entry to Estonia. It doesn't grant you citizenship, of course. This is self-evident. But what it gives you is a possibility to use digital services. And there, I think we shouldn't have limitations based on citizenship. There are already many companies that are fleeing Russia for several reasons. They're running away from Russia, mainly for political reasons. They feel that they want to be in EU. Acronis is one of these examples. They are building their research centers in Estonia, and they are Russian citizens. If they want to do that, if they want to use the e-services in the future, they will be able to do that.
And just one follow-up question, if I may. I have the pleasure of working with the Estonian American Council in the United States. We have 4,500 contacts that we communicate with regularly. I'd love to be able to get a copy of this presentation and to send to all of them. Will that be available?
We will make it available.
Thank you.
Over here? Yeah.
Hi, thank you. I'm just curious, in the digital ID, can you address any complexities of the aging population of Estonia and trying to get them adapting to the digital revolution?
Very good question. Actually, it's technically very, very easy. You simply put the card in your computer. It's a smart card. We have those small readers that you can attach to your USB if you have a Mac, for example, that doesn't have this smart card reader. And you simply have to know how to use a PIN. This is not difficult. In terms of older people using computers, I think there's a big revolution coming with those pads, all kinds of pads, be it iPad, other Android pads. They are so much more intuitive. And for example, my grandfather, who is 78, I have a very young grandfather, and he never really got used to this PC thing. He never used MS-DOS, where you had to type down, commands and stuff. He never used any Windows computers, but now he has the pad, and he sends me emails every day. And if I ask him whether I should print the pictures of our Christmas party and then give him an album, he says, "Come on, don't underestimate me. Just share me the Dropbox link." So. And the same applies actually to my daughter, who's 5. Again, 73 years difference with my grandfather, and she's 5, and she has been using more than 3 years now those pads, and because it's intuitive, and this actually means that in 5 years' time we will have even more intuitive computing, and this means that our life is getting more and more digital, and it's easier to use. But being more direct in answering your question, we have these statistics, how young or old people use this digital ID and how many of them vote or how it goes. And it started up as a thing that was used by office workers that use it for everyday life. But now you can't even make a difference. There are 18-year-old schoolboys and schoolgirls. There are pensioners of all age. Yeah, you have a demo to show me. Okay, this is how it looks like. This is the card. This has this chip on it, so you plug it in. Nothing too difficult, and yeah, the similar thing without the picture will be distributed to others. So you can't use it as a travel document, but you can use it for the services. This is for all of you who are not Estonian residents yet.
Good time for one more question from the backbenchers. Anybody? Oh, right here. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Right here. Up here.
Hi, Mr. Prime Minister. My name is Sarus Farvar. I'm a journalist with Ars Technica. Thank you for your presentation today. Other than founding a company or doing something along business lines, what could people in this room practically do that would be useful to them being an Estonian e-resident?
Well, there are many things actually that can be used already, using also the most modern internet banking in the world. There's a number of services, but having said that, I see that there is still a huge potential in making those services digital or international. I mean, today, you know, if you are, let's put it this way: we have designed most of the services to keeping in mind that people living in Estonia use them. In the beginning, when we introduced this smart card years ago, we didn't have almost any services in addition to signing documents. Now, in more than 10 years, we have created so many things that I can only count a few, and there are really many of them. So I expect to have future services developed by private companies, but also by government to make it even more attractive. What you can do already is you can sign documents which are legally binding not only in Estonia, but in all of EU. You can, for example, if you participate in, again, let's make a business case, or it can be other cases as well, but the business is the most easy to explain. If you own a stake in an Estonian company, you have invested in it, perhaps a very nice startup that is registered in Estonia, perhaps you are a member of board, you want to sign the documents, you don't have to send papers with post from here to Estonia, which takes lots of time and huge energy to be spent. You can sign documents so that one guy is sitting in Tallinn, other one here in Silicon Valley, and you can do these transactions. The other thing is, of course, if you want to use it for, as I said, internet banking. For some companies, the physical location is not extremely important. For example, if you are an app developer, you want to collect your income or revenue in one particular country. It could be any of those countries in the European Union, in the US, wherever. This digital opportunities together with very favorable tax system gives you an incentive to choose Estonia. But these are simply a couple of examples, but of course there will be many more as we going to build on those possibilities.
Well, Mr. Prime Minister, I think you have several hundred new e-residences as a result of your visit here today. But thanks again. Thanks again for being here, and let me turn over the microphone.
Thank you very much.
For those who wish it, there will be a recording of this event available through the Stanford University Library's website, library.stanford.edu. There'll be a little box that shows you where to go, and there's a search box. If you just want to search on Estonia and Prime Minister, you'll be able to find this entire event. Thank you all very much for coming. We should welcome our friend and make sure that he, Prime Minister Taavi Roivas, and his ambassador, and all of his entourage, remember they can always come back. We're looking forward to you being here, not virtually. Thank you very much.